let's jump into the video. So this video kind of serves as a continuation from the last one. In the last video, I talk about my experience with Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. Had never played it before, but finally made the time to at least watch the full movie and give it another shot to playing the game. In this video, I do the same exact thing with Kingdom Hearts 358/2. And you know how I said that in the last game, things started to get confusing? Well, I take that back. In this game, this is the game where things really get confused. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp as to what happened in the last game. It's like, I watched the movie for this game as well. I also started playing the DS version of it at the same time I started watching the movie. Now, this was really cool because I noticed that literally the cutscenes that you see in the DS are almost word for word what you see in the remastered version. Something to note for those of you who may not know, the remastered version is just a movie. There's no gameplay. It's just literally Kingdom Hearts 358/2, the movie. While the game actually has the cutscenes and gameplay. Something that does suck is while the DS version does have some voice acted and, you know, fully fleshed out scenes, they look 1,000 times better in the remastered version. And a lot of the scenes in the remastered version, when played on the DS, it's just dialogue. It's just literally little bubbles of dialogue. I would way rather first experience some of these cutscenes in the movie than in the DS version, because in the DS version I'm just kind of reading them, while in the movie I can actually see them voice acted. So that right there was already kind of a turn off to me continuing to play the game. Now I do want to add, I had played the DS version of this game years ago when it first came out, and I had really good memories of it. I remember enjoying it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I know Kingdom Hearts games don't have the best reputation for having super fun, interesting intros, but oh my gosh, like the first 3 hours felt like such a drag, dude. And the story wasn't even interesting, so I really just was pushing through. The gameplay felt really slow and kind of like laggy. It just didn't feel good. And don't even get me started on the way that you level up in this game. I level up, I get a little chip that says level up, and when I place it in a certain spot in my level up inventory, my character levels up. But if I remove it, he goes down a level. In this same board, I also have to add in potions and magic and any abilities that I learned. It's just weird and uncomfortable. And the fact that it, like, when I level up, I didn't always feel like I leveled up. I was like, okay, now I obviously I'm going to put the level up chip, but the fact that I have to now either sacrifice a potion spot or a magic spot or an ability for my level up was just kind of dumb. And while yes, this game gives you the ability to grind up and get a bunch of those little slots unlocked, it just removes the, you know, it being special to level up, because it's like I'm just gonna lose another slot and I'm either gonna have to, you know, remove an item or magic or something. It was just like, why would you do this? Why would you ever mix your inventories with your level ups? Like, I get it, they were going for something unique and different, and being who I am, I applaud them for trying. And I'm sure, you know, when you're deep into the game and you've, you know, grinded it out and done all the extra stuff and you're super high level and you have all these different slots, it's gotta be kind of interesting and fun to figure out the puzzle and figure out how it is that you want to level up your character and balance out the moves with the abilities, with the blah 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 blah. I see what they were going for, and I'm not surprised if some people enjoyed it. And again, I have memories of having a decent time with this game. So I was really taken aback when in the first 3 hours of this, I was just dreading playing this game, because I had remembered that when I played it when I was younger, I was really into it. And then I remembered, oh, when this game came out, it was the very first, for me, my very first portable Kingdom Hearts experience. I know Birth by Sleep had already come out, but I unfortunately didn't play it. This was my first real portable KH experience, and I was into it. Playing it all these years later, I was hoping that there'd be some kind of nostalgia, something cool, and there just wasn't. And this actually got me a little bit concerned, because I remember when I replayed through Kingdom Hearts Recoded and watching my review on it, I had a really good time with it, and I just played that a couple of months ago. So just to be sure, if it wasn't like something weird was going on inside of me and I hadn't changed, I popped in Kingdom Hearts Recoded just to kind of see what it was like. And that game is fun. And here's what I think it kind of boils down to. Like, in Kingdom Hearts Recoded, you have the same kind of abilities that you do in Birth by Sleep, where you press a button and you either use fire or use this cool fire raid move, or, you know, you use some sort of special ability and you just have to wait for the thing to recharge. So yeah, of course, even though it didn't look the prettiest, it still had these really cool moves. In 358/2, this all kind of gets taken away, like it's not there. You don't even have like a magic bar or like MP in Kingdom Hearts 358/2. And that little inventory thing that I was telling you about, if you equip 4 fires, you can use fire 4 times throughout the mission. And there's no other way to get that magic back. It's kind of like a usable item, and the only way to get it back is by using either a consumable item, which you also have to put inside that inventory space that I just didn't enjoy it. So at least I'm glad that it's not that I've changed. Like I really do enjoy Recoded, and I'm not taking anything back that I say from that game, but after playing that, I think the best way to have experienced this game was playing it right when it came out and not having the option to watch the movie remastered or having the ability to play any other portable KH game. But yeah, man, like the gameplay is just not good, and I don't say that often, but the gameplay, this is just how you know, like again, I am a little biased towards Kingdom Hearts, but the gameplay in this is just not good at all, man. It does not feel good at all. And while I could see some people enjoying it, it was just not my thing, dude. And not just that, some of the missions in this game are such a drag, dude. Like almost every time when you get to a new level, you have to do these missions for the organization where you have to like examine a bunch of different parts of the world. And like, dude, I'll say this, it's no Rechain of Memories where you're just entering a room, a box. You know, a lot of the maps in this game represent or are reminiscent of the ones in Kingdom Hearts 1, so it's a little bit better. I just didn't like that for some missions. It was just having me look at walls and be like, oh, that wall has a crack on it, or oh, look at that plate in Agrabah, it's got some dust on it. There's not a lot of guidance on purpose because it wants you to explore the world, but you're exploring this tiny little world that you've already seen a better version of on the PlayStation. So as you're looking at these plates with dust on it in Agrabah, you're like, why am I doing this? So it doesn't tell you where to go. It makes you look through the entire world and get lucky to find the appropriate thing you're supposed to examine to complete the mission and move on to the next mission. A lot of this game is, oh, go find this enemy and kill it. And again, it's not straightforward about where you're supposed to go, so you're forced to just traverse around this world, which it would be one thing if they make this game really fun to traverse and easy and quick to traverse, but especially starting off, man, you just gotta run everywhere, and it's so frustrating. That is why I think this game is such a tragedy. There's a solid story in here, and the game could be made amazing if it just had a couple of tweaks. Tweak the way that you level up in this system. Get rid of the whole inventory thing. And I mean, even if you keep it, I can forgive you if you give me nice graphics and make the gameplay more enjoyable. Same thing with the missions. Maybe the missions aren't as fun, but again, if the gameplay is solid, that can be forgiven. Because something else that this game does that we haven't seen in another Kingdom Hearts game is the different amount of playable characters that are in this game. You can play as almost any of the Organization 13 members, and not just that, you can play as Donald and Goofy, bro. Like, that is so freaking cool. But again, it's kind of ruined by the fact that you're playing it on this super watered down Nintendo DS version, and not even a good version at that. Like, if you made it feel like Recoded, that'd be different, but it's just not good. The Kingdom Hearts 358/2 movie does a good job at explaining all the really important parts of the story. Unfortunately, in the DS game, there's a lot of cool little bits and pieces of lore that you can only get from playing the DS game. For example, I didn't know this, but you know the shadows and the Neo shadows in the DS version of the game, one of the organization members explains to you that those specific Heartless are called purebloods. And if you also notice, they don't really have a Heartless symbol on them, because they are Heartless that literally have no hearts. And all the Heartless that have a little symbol on them, when you kill them, you actually see a heart fly out of them. And that means that when you kill them with the Keyblade, you actually end up trapping that heart or having it you're sending it to Kingdom Hearts. My point is, there's a lot of little bits and pieces of lore like that. And in the DS game, you get to see, again, a lot more of these side organization characters. Like, you get to see them interact with Roxas, and I wouldn't say you learn a lot more about them, but you do get to know their personality a lot more. And that's something that I meant to say in Rechain of Memories as well. You don't necessarily learn their background, but you start to see the uniqueness of each character just through their personality and then the way they talk and what they say. Which even then, again, like, I wish I could say that a lot of the things that they say are super interesting, but there's like little nuggets of information that I'm like, oh, that was cool that I found that out, but a lot of it was just kind of these organization members talking to Roxas, and like, it's not like you see a bond form between them, it's just really them treating Roxas as like this, like, they're just kind of mean to him, you know? There is no cool relationship there. But okay, that about does it. Let's move on to what really matters, which is the story. I do want to say I'm so grateful that they do have, like, they at least remade these important cutscenes, because again, reading them on the screen on my little DS and then being able to watch them on the big screen fully voice acted was like, wow, shutting my DS and I just want to walk. Right off the bat, I can tell you, the biggest takeaway, one of my favorite things, you actually get to see Roxas for Roxas, you know? You get a little bit of a taste of what he's like in Kingdom Hearts 2, but here you really get to see the origin of Roxas and how he is his own dude, and even how that, you know, he has similarities with Sora. Obviously, you also get to see the full development of Axel / Lee. That dude is so freaking cool, and in this game, he's a main character. And then lastly, you get to learn about this new character, which you probably never heard of if you haven't really experimented with this game, unless you played Kingdom Hearts 3 and the DLC at that point too, which is Xion. Xion? Another Kingdom Hearts character that I would have absolutely no clue who they are if it wasn't for me watching this movie. So, the game starts off with Roxas being introduced into the organization. First couple days, he's super quiet, and you learn the whole point of having Roxas in the organization, and everything that he has to do is just collect hearts for the organization. Why? Because he can wield a Keyblade, because he's Sora's nobody. In this game, what also gets revealed is why do these nobodies and why does Organization 13 want to collect hearts? Why are they so obsessed with completing Kingdom Hearts? Because as nobodies, they don't have a heart, and that's like their entire goal in their nobody life. They just want to complete Kingdom Hearts because it's so they say, Xemnas says that if they complete Kingdom Hearts, all these nobodies get hearts. So why do these nobodies look like humans essentially, and other nobodies just look like these white husks things? I guess depending on the person, if they have a strong enough will or a strong enough heart or something like that, then a stronger nobody gets created. I think that's how it works. But yeah, another thing that's interesting is Axel and all the other organization members are special nobodies because they can all kind of remember bits and pieces of their life before they became a nobody. They all have some knowledge of their background. Roxas doesn't. Roxas is one of the only organization members who has no idea who he used to be. Now, as he plays through the game, bits and pieces, he starts to kind of get these memories of Sora and who he was before this. Right around the beginning of the game, this new organization member pops up, which is number 14. Yeah, I know, organization 14. What? So this 14th member pops up, right? And you don't really see their face, which is interesting. This is the new character that I was talking about, Xion. Xion. Something else to know, at the beginning of the game, Roxas doesn't really talk much. Like, especially the first couple days, Axel's trying to like get, you know, Roxas to come out of his shell. He just barely talks at all. It's the same exact thing with Xion. You know, Xion gets introduced to this Kingdom Hearts story, and they don't really say much the first couple days. They're really quiet, and you're kind of like, who is this chick? But you're also like, Roxas was the same way, so I guess you can assume that most nobodies are kind of like that at the beginning, maybe? The game starts off with Axel and Roxas really connecting, really Axel wanting to be Roxas's friend, and they go off on little, you know, excursions together, and at the end of every mission, even if they went on a mission together or not, they meet up at the tower, which is, you know, this very iconic site where they have a conversation together, and they talk about each other's day while sharing sea salt ice cream. This is really where you get to see their friendship kind of begin, and you see them form a special bond. It's interesting because they you know, Axel's like, we're gonna start doing this, and we're friends, but at the same time, you know, when Roxas is like, friends, he's like, Axel's also kind of confused. He's like, yeah, like, I think this is what friends do. This is what people with hearts do, so we're gonna be friends now. And even though, you know, this all coming from a place of like, we don't really know what friends are or what laughter is or what happiness is, they ended up getting that from each other. They ended up like having these emotions and becoming best friends, you know? So you see them develop this friendship, right? So now they're kind of friends, and Roxas is really used to, after every mission, going and talking with Axel at the top of the tower and just sharing some ice cream. So then Axel says, yo, Roxas, I'm leaving to go to Castle Oblivion. And that's when all the rechain of memory stuff happens. And almost at the same time, Roxas does their first mission with Xion, which is the new member who's super quiet. Eventually, after the second or third mission they do together, Roxas and Xion actually kind of starts talking to Roxas. And Xion actually has a face now. At first, she was just one hood, and then, you know, she kind of reveals herself to Roxas, and they start talking a little bit, right? And Roxas ends up inviting her up to the tower with her.
Oh yeah, also kind of a big thing. You end up finding out that Xion can also wield the Keyblade? What? Okay.
And they set up at the tower and just kind of talk and start, you know, acting like friends, which once again, Roxas doesn't really know what a friend is. Xion has no clue what a friend is, but Roxas is like, this is what friends do. And it's actually kind of cute because Xion at some point is like, oh, like, do you think someday, like, we could be friends, you know, all three of us? And Roxas is like, of course, once Axel comes back, all three of us will be friends and we'll do this together. So Roxas and Xion go on a couple more missions together, they talk a couple more times, and Axel finally comes back. It's also kind of interesting because at some point during one of these days when Axel's not back yet, Roxas hears that someone from the organization got terminated. So he's super worried that it might be Axel, and none of the other organization members are like, you know, really care about Roxas. So when Roxas is like, dude, who was it? What happened? Like, I'm worried, like, one of our organization members got destroyed, like, it's dead. All the organization members, being evil, are like, dude, why do you even care? Like, you know, he's asking who it is, and they're like, bro, don't worry about it. Like, who cares? Roxas just kind of passes out and is having these memories of Sora. Roxas doesn't wake up for a couple of days, and it's kind of cute because Xion and Roxas are kind of friends at this point. So every day, Xion would leave a shell on Roxas's bed, hoping that he'll wake up, and she would kind of go and talk to this sleeping Roxas and tell him about her day. So finally Roxas wakes up and notices the shells by his bed, but doesn't really know what's going on, so he just goes and does like a regular mission. At the end of the mission, he goes up to the clock tower, and, you know, while he's having his ice cream chilling alone, Xion shows up. And then Xion's like, oh my gosh, Roxas, you're awake, you know, blah, blah, blah. And like kind of tells him that she's been leaving seashells for him, and they kind of connect like that, and it's cute. It's cute. It's a cute moment where you see like, oh wow, like these nobodies who don't have any feelings are becoming friends, and it's just cool, man. It's just cool. Anyways, we continue on with the days, and finally Axel comes back from Castle Oblivion, and Roxas is like, bro, I was worried about you. I thought you died. I heard someone got terminated. And Axel, being all cool, he's like, you had nothing to worry about, bro. I'm here. We Gucci. So after the little reunion, they go up to the tower, they share ice cream, and they just kind of get caught up and continue to grow closer to each other. Something to know here, as all of this is going on, behind Roxas's back, Axel keeps talking to Sayax, the guy with the blue hair, and they keep having these meetings, just the two of them, clearly indicating that Axel is a little bit more on the know when it comes to the organization's plans as a whole. And he clearly has this special relationship with Sayax, which I'm not supposed to know about, but I kind of know about. And I remember at some point Sayax basically tells Axel, like, you should really stop hanging out with Roxas, like, that's, you know, you shouldn't really care about him, like, be careful, you're getting a little bit too close, remember our real mission, and remember your real friendships, right? Like, let's not forget what's actually going on here, right? So then finally, after a couple more days, Axel, Roxas, and Xion find each other in a mission. At the end of the day, all three of them go up to the clock tower and have their first little hangout together. Something really important for you to notice throughout this cutscene. Whenever Roxas looks at Xion, you can see her face, right? Whenever Axel looks at Xion, she doesn't have a face. Like, she just has her hood up. Eventually, throughout the same exact cutscene, when Xion asks Axel, like, hey, like, are we friends, or will we ever be friends? And Axel's like, yeah, you're friends with Roxas, and I'm friends with Roxas, so we're friends. Almost in that same exact scene, then whenever Axel looks at Xion, she has a face now, right? So let's just kind of put a pin on that and come back. The cool thing about this scene is you get to see for the first time the three amigos. Like, the rest of this game, just know, revolves around the relationship with Axel, Xion, and Roxas as nobodies, as people who are working for an evil organization, and as people who don't really know what's going on. You know, they're just following kind of this organization blindly, but they're becoming friends along the way. And clearly these three are a little bit different because they seem to be a little bit more moral and care a little bit more than the other members. Roxas starts to ask some questions. It's like, you know, I understand that we're trying to rebuild Kingdom Hearts, but like, why? Like, I know we want to have a heart, but why do we want to have a heart? Why is it that I'm having to like use the Keyblade? Like, why am I so important to, you know, rebuilding Kingdom Hearts? Just actually starts to question, what are the real motives of Organization 13, and are we good people? Are we doing the right thing here? So that's kind of cool that Roxas, you know, is kind of starting to question things a little bit. Axel just kind of responds with, I don't know, man, this is just kind of what you do. It's what we do. We want hearts. That's like the whole point of our existence. It's kind of like an interesting cult scenario, right? Where the moment they were created as nobodies, they were recruited by Xemnas. And this is all Xemnas has ever told them. Your purpose right now is to recreate Kingdom Hearts, because with that, you will have a heart. And that's what you want. You want a heart. You want to be real. You want to be yourself. So they've just kind of like, you can clearly see here, Axel's been so brainwashed that he's just not really questioning it, you know? Like, he's kind of like, yeah, come on, Roxas, don't question it, bro. This is just what we do. This is what everyone's been doing. So it's the only thing that they've known. It's the only mission that they've known throughout their existence.
So much so, in fact, that later throughout the movie, Roxas actually gets a day off where he can do whatever he wants with his day and doesn't have to go on a mission. And he's literally like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't think I enjoy, like, having a break. And it's because from the moment he's been created, all he's ever known is going out on missions and being in the castle. So, like, you give him a day off, and it's like the only times he's had fun is when he's like hanging out with Xion and Axel. At some point too, there's actually a scene where he sees Hanner, Pence, and Olette hanging out, and it's summer for them, so they're just kind of like having a good time. And Roxas is like, what do they do all day? They don't have missions. And Axel's like, well, they just kind of hang out and do what friends do, which is be together. And Roxas is like, man, like I can't imagine a life without me having these missions. I think the most I could ever take from quote unquote summer is 7 days. Like that's all I could handle. Kingdom Hearts 2, 7 days, wink wink.
From here, you see a couple more scenes with Saïx and Axel meeting in secret. Again, Saïx telling Axel to be careful with how close he gets to Xion and Roxas, as well as asking him about finding a specific room in a Castle Oblivion, which connects to Rechain of Memories. From my assumption, what I would guess is that they're trying to find the room where Sora is regaining his memory. It gets referenced a couple more times throughout the movie, and that's what I assume is happening there. So now, this is when things start to connect to Rechain of Memories and start to get a little bit juicy, because my favorite character in Kingdom Hearts pops up, Riku. So you see Xion, you know, have this kind of flashback of her having an encounter with Riku. And clearly within this encounter, they end up having some sort of a fight. Riku wins, and then you also see her low-key get chewed out by the organization because she failed a mission. I guess her mission was to go take out an imposter. She went and she failed. That imposter being Riku. Why are they calling him an imposter? Because he has the organization's 13 robes, so he is an imposter. Story goes on, and you get to see Axel, Roxas, and Xion get closer and closer with each other. As this happens, you also get glimpses of what's going on with Riku and Mickey, and you see a little bit of their whole story, right? And Riku is meeting with Mickey and Diz and talking to them about like, yo, I ran into this organization member called Xion, and she looks like, you know, Kairi, and you know, they're just kind of like discussing what might be going on here, right? Here's the big twist. Here's the big secret, okay? I'm just gonna jump right into it. It finally gets revealed who Xion is and what the heck is happening. So, remember Data Riku? And remember how Data Riku was created and wasn't really a person, but more just so like an imitation of Riku? Well, Xion was also created by the organization, not a real person. So even worse than a nobody, because at least a nobody got created from a real person. This was just, once again, a puppet who got created by the organization purposefully to steal Sora's memories. Again, as Sora is being reconstructed, like his memories are coming back to him, they created this vessel to try and steal Sora's memories, because if Sora doesn't get all his memories back, he won't, you know, wake up again. Now, while all this is happening and Roxas is randomly having memories of Sora, and at some point this is something that Naminé discusses with Diz. She's like, I'm having complications and Sora isn't getting his memories back. And after enough banter back and forth, it's like, you find out that the reason he's not getting his memories back is because his memories that should be coming back to him are seeping into Roxas. But here's the thing. Not just were they seeping into Roxas, they were also seeping into Xion, which was the whole point as to why the organization wanted to create Xion. They knew that if they had, you know, these vessels that could absorb Sora's memories, Sora wouldn't be able to wake up. Which also explained why Xion looks so much like Kairi, because she was literally created by Sora's memories of Kairi on the island, along with other memories as well. Some people would argue that she kind of looks like Sora, actually. Xion comes from Sora's memories in general, period. So Xion is partially constructed because of Sora's memories of Kairi and just his memories in general. So she really could have looked like anything, which is, again, is a really interesting, you know, take on this whole, on creating a character. They literally created a character that looks how they look because they were created out of someone else's memories, which is crazy. As the game goes on, Xion starts to develop a personality of her own, along with Roxas. You know, Roxas also stealing some of Sora's memories. Both of these characters kind of start developing, you know, to be their own person. So while they have fragments and bits and pieces of Sora in their head, they're also developing new memories that they now share with Axel, Xion, and Roxas, like that the three of them share together, becoming their own person. Which is why, in a sense, the organization failed with Xion, because they wanted Xion to be an exact copy of Sora, and it ended up turning into something else. Man, that's confusing, but I hope you guys understand it, because I barely understand it. So anywho, that's the big secret. That's the big reveal. We now know what Xion is, and we now know what Roxas is. Axel, at some point, finds out what Xion is. And all those, you know, little meetings with Sayax and whatnot, you find out, like, okay, Axel kind of knows why Xion is created. And also, something to note is, while Xion is absorbing Sora's memories, and Roxas is absorbing Sora's memories, Xion is also absorbing part of Roxas's memories, which in turn makes Roxas weaker. At some point, you know, near the end of the game, you start to see that Roxas starts passing out a lot more and starts saying that he's really exhausted after using the Keyblade. So, with this knowledge, Axel knowing that Xion is the reason why his best friend is becoming weak, he becomes a little bit distant towards Xion because, you know, he knows the truth. Right? He knows the truth of what's happening. And then he's like, well, just you existing, Xion, which you're not even really supposed to be a person, right? You're just this thing created by the organization. Even though we're friends now, you are literally killing my best friend. Riku, Diz, and Mickey all also figure out what's happening, and they all talk about what has to happen for Sora to wake up, which boils down to Roxas and Xion essentially need to be killed or cease to exist so that those memories can go back into Sora. In other words, they have to become Sora. They have to go back into Sora. The funniest thing is, like, even though it's super hard to explain, it makes sense to me, and it's because I watched the movie. So if you guys are super confused by this, like, I think if you just watch the movie, it'll make more sense. Okay, so then Axel and Xion have this encounter because Xion's just getting all these memories back, and she starts to suspect, starts to kind of like have these memories of her being created and Castle Oblivion, and like Axel and the organization try to stop her, but she ends up going into Castle Oblivion and has this confrontation with Axel where she's like, hey, I feel like I've been here before. I have a memory of me being here before and you being here with me. That is essentially around that time she finds out what's actually going on. And Axel kind of tries to stop her a little bit, like, you know, because one, he kind of cares about her, and two, like, I don't think she wasn't never meant to find out why she was created and all that. But point is, she ends up finding out at some point, which puts her in this really interesting place where it's like, what do I do? She cares a lot about Roxas, and she knows that her sheer existence is destroying Roxas. And again, this is where Axel's in an interesting place because he cares about Xion, but he's also like, you shouldn't exist, and you existing is killing my best friend. So things get juicy, man. And this whole time, Roxas has no idea what's happening. He's just kind of like, you know, wanting to hang out with Xion and Axel and just continue to be the best friends that they kind of were. But Axel and Xion just, they're all not, all three of them aren't hanging out anymore. Well, we fast forward, and eventually Xion and Riku have another encounter. This is exactly when I think Xion finds out who she is. Riku explains everything to her. This is where they could have done the whole thing where, like, Riku doesn't want to, you know, destroy Xion, but is like, I have to for my best friend. Nah, bruh. Riku is a good guy. So Riku basically just tells Xion, like, you are preventing my best friend from waking up. So everything kind of gets explained to her, and she finds out, wow, the whole purpose of me existing is essentially to stop this hero from waking up, right? And at this point, Xion no longer wants the organization to successfully build Kingdom Hearts. You know, this is kind of like when she's like, I'm so conflicted. This is all I've known my entire life, and I've found out that I was never meant to exist, and that me existing is hurting so many people. So it's like this conflict within her where she's like, I want to exist for my friends, but also like, I shouldn't exist. Which is exactly where Axel's at with Xion, where it's like, you're my friend, but also, oh, this is also wrong. While again, Roxas being completely in the dark. Also, I'm not sure if I fully said this, but this is why I love Riku. Because again, they could have gone down the path with like Riku just destroying Xion right then and there. But I wonder if he knew. I wonder if he knew that because Xion was a part of Sora, that Xion would do the right thing in a way and sacrifice herself, right? So again, now we have a bunch of conflicting situations where Xion's kind of running away from the organization and Axel has to go and capture her, and this is when things kind of get weird, because there's actually a specific scene that hopefully I'll be able to find and show you guys where, you know, Axel straight just bashes Xion over the head, and Roxas sees all that and it's like, what is happening? Like, you guys are supposed to be my best friends and best friends with each other. And Roxas is like low-key mad at Axel for a little bit there. And he's just in the dark, man. He's just confused, and he just wants to be friends with his friends. He wants his best friends back. Eventually, Axel and Xion have, you know, they're one of their final confrontations where Axel's like, yep, you existing is why Roxas is weak, and what are you gonna do about this, girl? What are you gonna do about this? And enough time goes by. Axel, Xion, and Roxas have one final hangout in their usual spot. And again, it's just so cute because at this point you can see their friendship fully developed, and they're all just kind of messing around with each other, and you're like, ah, they're best friends and they're all back together. I'm so happy. And it's just one last kind of slap in the face that's like, you care about these three being together. You care about these three being best friends. They're just in a really complicated situation, but you love this trio. At the end of that, you know, they promise each other that they're all going to go to the beach one day. You're hoping that that's going to happen, but stuff kind of goes down. Axel and Xion have one last mission together. And at some point during this mission, Xion runs away, and Axel just kind of lets her. Axel comes back to the organization, and Roxas is like, what do you mean you just let Xion run away? What happened? And Axel's just kind of like, I just, you know, like, kind of let it happen. And Roxas is pissed at this point. He's like, what do you know that I don't know? Like, why did you let Xion leave? Like, bro, we're supposed to be best friends here. And, you know, what is happening? You know something that I don't know. Why did you smack her that one time? And just like, you know, like, he just kind of lashes out on him. And it's actually really cool, emotional scene. So Roxas runs off, all pissed at Axel for, you know, not really filling him in on what's happening. So then Roxas figures it out. The organization doesn't need me. You know, if they have Xion to collect hearts, I am now useless, and that's why they created Xion, you know? Now, this is actually kind of like the big emotional, the scene before Axel and Roxas kind of had like a fight. This is where like you really see Roxas just kind of like give up on Lee. Like, you really see him just absolutely destroyed by finding out the truth that Axel knew all this stuff and hadn't told him. And, you know, Roxas says, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna go talk to the one person who I can really trust, because you are not it. I cannot trust you, man. So at this point he goes off and he's, for one, trying to find Xion, but he's also like, I'm gonna go talk to Sora. I need to go find Sora, because Sora is the one who's going to show me the way here. He's the only one I can trust who sounds like isn't going to lie to me, right? Because the whole organization is going to lie to him. Two people who wouldn't lie to him in the organization, one of them being Axel / Lee, clearly he couldn't trust. The other one being Xion, which Xion ran away, so he's got to go to Sora. At the end of Cage 2, you see the scene of Roxas leaving the organization and Lee being like, sorry, Axel being like, you can't just leave the organization, like, you know, like, you can't turn your back on us. And Roxas is like, who would care anyways? No one would care if I'm gone. And Axel's like, I mean, I would, man. Like, come on. Then you find out that when Xion ran away, she was off with Diz, Namine, Riku, and basically saying, hey, what do I have to do, you know, to give myself up to Sora in a way. While Xion is meeting with Namine and they're in this room that the organization's been trying to find out along, Axel tracks down Xion, and this isn't good because Xion is also giving away the location of where Namine and Sora and this hidden room is, right? So as Xion's trying to leave, Axel's like, I've been ordered to capture you. So they have a little fight. And then you have one of the final scenes in the game where Xion tells Roxas everything. And basically tells him, yo, I am this puppet, and I was created by the organization to be a copy of Sora, and they just wanted to use me to rebuild Kingdom Hearts. I basically need to die. I have fulfilled my purpose because I don't want the organization to win. So she then proceeds to fight Roxas. And I will say there's a super creepy scene because like you're used to seeing Xion for Xion, and then you see the scene with Xion. So you see Xion telling Roxas that she's fulfilled her purpose, and with her turning into Sora. So when Roxas looks at her, she looks like Sora, but has Xion's voice, and it just looks really weird and creepy. Roxas is confused. He doesn't want this to happen, but they end up having this fight. Now, you don't see the fight. If you played it, on the DS, you get to experience the fight, and she turns into this really big, cool looking thing with like a bunch of different phases, leading to one of the most sad endings in Kingdom Hearts history, where Xion dies. Xion essentially dies, and one of the saddest lines ever is said by Roxas, which is, "Who am I gonna have my ice cream with?" Here's something else that I didn't mention. If this happened to Xion, she was gonna disappear, and everybody who knew Xion was going to forget about her. Like, not just was she gonna die and were people gonna be sad, but it's almost like so much worse because she was going to cease to exist, and everybody who ever knew her was just gonna forget about her. So you're like, what? Making this scene so much more sad because they show you the memories of all three of them hanging out together and her just disappearing, her never being there, right? Super sad. And while Roxas forgets about Xion, the only thing he has on his mind is, I have to go get Sora. I have to go meet Sora. So you really it hits, man. Like, the core of this game and this story is their bond. And they literally pulled like a No Way Home on us, right? Spider-Man No Way Home, where it's like everybody just forgets who Xion is and she ceases to exist. This is also where the super cool fight scene happens with Riku and Roxas. At this point, Riku has also forgotten about Xion, right? But this already kind of solved one issue, which was the issue of Xion needed to be eliminated somehow. So now Xion's out of the picture. There's still the second glaring issue, which is a lot of Sora's memories are in Roxas, and for Sora to wake up, Roxas needs to be defeated or go back into Sora, essentially. So this all leads to one final battle with Riku and Roxas, and you kind of see a little bit of this or hear about it in Cage 2, but again, with absolutely no context. Now we have all the context. Roxas ends up beating Riku, and Riku has to do the thing that he'd kind of been like controlling this whole time: dig deep down into his heart and unleash the darkness inside of him. Now this has some side effects that are explained in Cage 2. Once he transforms and he unleashes the darkness in his heart, he also his look permanently changes, which explains why he looks like Ansem in Kingdom Hearts 2. It all freaking comes together full circle, and now you know why. After he lets out the darkness and he taps into this dark power, he defeats he defeats Roxas. Literally, all you need to know is this game ends with Roxas waking up in this data version of Twilight Town, and that's where Kingdom Hearts 2 picks up. So this game literally becomes the missing link. In terms of how I feel about the story and this game in general, it's such a tragedy. Not just the story itself is tragic, but the game, man. But alas, that does it for this long Ace Kingdom Hearts 358/2 video. A lot was explained, and I'm also making these videos partially for me. Hopefully I'll never forget the lore of these games, but on the off chance that I do, I now have this video to come back to.
So now, is it worth sitting down and watching the entire movie? Or is it easier to just sit down and watch a 40-minute long video summarizing what the movie's about? I think that to really get the emotions out of you, you have to watch this. If you want to grow more attached to Axel, Roxas, and Xion, you're gonna have to watch the movie. That is the best way to do it. Again, that last scene with Xion freaking dying, man, it is not gonna feel the same just hearing about it for me than actually freaking watching it happen. If you are still confused by a lot of parts in this video, watch the movie. I did my best to try and explain it. I actually had like an hour and 30 minutes of footage of me trying to explain this freaking game. I managed to shorten it to whatever the length it is now. So if you are still confused in certain areas about this movie slash game slash story, then yes, watch the movie. That is just the best piece of advice I can give you to like fully grasp what's happening. Just watch it.
Did I like this story more than Rechain of Memories? It's hard to answer that because I think they're both really good in different ways. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that. They're both really good. All right, well, that about does it for this video. So yes, on that note, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to leave a comment, and do not forget to subscribe to one of the most amazing YouTube families out here. And on that note, I love you, Wolfpack, and I will see you all next time.